Wow. Well, and there's so many ways to think about boundaries, right? Like there's boundaries like we're talking about, and then there's boundaries to create maybe balance in our own lives, right?
That's kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, which is really hard in a 24/7 world that we have today, right? Where we don't really, it's not really, we're never really on or off. It's sort of all kind
Always
of gray. So, this is what I believe that balance is kind of a byproduct of creating boundaries, of getting really clear on what matters most. So my husband and I, we have 3 daughters who are now in their teens, but when they were young.
Wow. Wait a minute, let me take that in. You got 3. Bless your husband's heart.
He's amazing.
He's like loaded up with
He's
this.
Oh yeah, girl. It's full time.
Yeah, no kidding.
But helping in, there was a lot of things that I said no to.
Yeah.
That the world would say, you're kidding. You're not going to the Super Bowl. You're not going to the. If I didn't need to be there for work or for my guys or whatever, I didn't go, because what I knew was nobody else can raise our girls. And so for me, boundaries, I learned pretty fast I needed to create them in order to feel present as a wife and a mother. And so I think it's a byproduct of getting really, really clear on what your purpose is, what your why is, what matters most to you. And then having the discipline to say no to things and say yes. And saying no is so hard, but
it's almost impossible in my industry.
Okay.
Certainly with entertainers.
Okay.
I would assume the same is true for sports
Can
figures.
be, yeah, it's tough. I don't know that, I mean, I would argue that it's not impossible. I think it's possible, it's just tough. But what I try to tell myself when I say no to something, that I'm probably saying yes to the people that matter the most to me in my life. And as hard as that is, I think that's incredibly important. But it starts with clarity, and it starts with really kind of boundaries, right? So it's not easy, but I think it's important, right? I think it's important. So how do you coach your guys, your artists to
My God,
have
seeing how I'm currently not married, but I am trolling, so keep that in mind.
You are trolling. I know you told me that.
And I don't have children of my own, so it's a little bit of a different thing for me. Although I have a family and people in my family that I'm responsible to and for that I love very much, but it's also my business, and I have a lot of staff who work at Jan Smith Studios and in the recording studio with me. And I have a great responsibility for them and to them as well.
For sure.
So for me, it's more of a business kind of responsibility, and looking at that and making sure that I have the boundaries around me so that I can maintain my involvement and the creativity that I want, instead of being absorbed in all of the other things that people need and expect sometimes from me.
Sure.
But the example that I think about, and this again is just a personal reflection, but I think about when Christ was going into the Garden of Gethsemane, and one of the most intimate relationships that's ever been exampled for me was he had 12 disciples, 12 people around him who were the closest people in that camp. And yet, when he had the most difficult night of his life, he only asked 3 of them to go in the garden to pray with him and to stay awake and to
He created boundaries in that moment.
Absolutely.
In a way.
And I think because of that, it says to me, even within the intimacy of the people who know me best, there are still those few, that who you're going to pick up and call. And like if you were really in the darkest night, who would be there for you?
Sure.
And I think that it's important to know that.
Yeah,
to know
that's true.
that those are, no matter what, even when you're wrong, they're going to be standing beside you and say, "Okay, I'm gonna get in this car with you."
One of the things that I'm sure you see this with your artists, and I always tried to be that person for my athletes was. I think it's so important for all of us in life to have people that don't want anything from you at all. That only want to just be there to help you get better, to be better, to serve more. And
who love you, who truly love you.
Right.
Like you.
Not because of anything that you do or whatever. And for me, that's my husband, that's my parents and my brothers and my sister-in-law. Those people.
And of course me.
And Mama J.
Okay.
Because you would tell me the truth.
Absolutely I would.
But we all need that, because and it was always, I mean, I used to see athletes walk out of the house to go to an appearance, and they'd have a sweater on. I had a guy, and it was awful. And I'm like, why isn't your wife telling you that looks so bad? they'd have people that wouldn't tell them the truth.
But see, that's what's so dangerous.
Scary.
It is scary, but that's also what's dangerous is when people are making a living off of you, they're afraid for other things, for their stuff,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So that's why I said earlier when we were talking about something else, I said, if you're not willing to let something go
Right.
for the sake of it,
Sure.
you have to really make a hardcore decision about the truth.
Yeah.
And having lived on the other side of that in my own denial and not living into my own truth, let me tell you, it can take you places you don't want to go. So being honest in it. So I think the truth of that and making sure that you understand that you need people who are going to be like real bone honest with you to tell you the truth no matter what, like the sweater.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Funny story for you, okay?
Hit me.
The first time I went in to see a stylist, I loved horizontal stripes. I just loved them. I don't know why I was attracted to them.
You just dug it. It was your thing.
I had horizontal stripes on. Well, apparently that's a fashion, like a faux pas, right?
Okay.
And they were sitting there looking at me going, do we tell her now? But they told me. And I went home, went through my closet, and I had like 9 other, things. But nobody had told me that.
Right.
Nobody said, hey,
Right.
you look like 5 times wider on camera because you're wearing horizontal stripes. Thanks for telling me.
Yep.
Right?
And those are the moments that are tough to take.
Yeah.
But boy, I know. I remember.
Thanks for telling me.
Yeah. we need it. I mean, we need. So, what would you tell, somebody out there that's listening that?
No horizontal stripes. That's what I would say.
But
No.
what about boundaries? Like, what would you tell them? What would you tell somebody to do that feels like they're exhausted all the time, they're running ragged, that they're trying to sort of take care of everybody?
You got to take it. Well, first of all,
What would you tell them to do?
You got to take care of you in it. If
Okay.
there's not enough of you, you're not doing anything for anybody else.
Right.
And sometimes pulling back away from all of the busy allows you to really, refuel.
Yeah.
You gotta refuel. You gotta have some water. We can live off of a lot of things, but you gotta have air and you gotta have water.
Yeah.
So water means staying hydrated, and that also means your soul.
Yeah.
It means your mind, your soul, your spirit. I believe that boundaries mean that. Boundaries mean taking time for you, understanding you in it. And what are your limits? If you don't know what your limits are, you're in trouble.
And realizing that maybe when you're doing that, you're not being selfish.
Not at all.
That you're actually doing something that will allow you to help others even more.
And how about this? How about the example of that? If other people are looking at you and looking to you, your example of that is extremely important for them.
That's a good point.
Yeah, stewardship.
Boundaries.
Boxes.
Boundaries. I love it. This is a good one.